G'day and welcome to ReDriven. Now, there are some incredible performance cars out there that it feels like we've all forgotten about. Maybe the sales department dropped the ball, or maybe some engineers tweaked a pretty normal car into something truly special but forgot to tell everybody in marketing about it. But whatever it is, we now have the opportunity to snap up some forgotten gems. But look, before we get into this, please know that the list of cars that could have made up this list is about a mile long, so we're probably going to end up doing a part 2, 3, and maybe even 4 down the track. But also, to refine the list of potential contenders, we have some rules. To be considered, these cars have to be internationally and readily available, so there's not going to be any super limited edition Corvette that was only available from one dealership in remote Alaska. Also, we've done our absolute best to keep these cars relatively affordable, so there's no, 800 horsepower bespoke Bentley that cost $750,000 that no one's ever heard about. Anyway, let's get into this. Here's our top 5 underrated performance cars. Part 1. Kicking off the list, it's the most muscular variant of a car that many people associate with hairdressers, yet it is from a German manufacturer that has some pretty serious rally heritage. It's the Audi TT RS. While the likes of the RS3, 4, 5, 6 and 7 generally hog the spotlight, not to mention the sublime R8, the powerhouse quattro that we all seem to forget about is the TT RS, and in particular, the 2010 to 2013 version. Powered by a brilliant 2.5-litre 5-cylinder turbocharged petrol engine, the TT RS was Audi's first compact sports car to wear the RS badge. With a 0 to 100 km/h time of around about 4.5 seconds, the TT RS will dominate the corners arguably better than the straights, with its incredible traction thanks to its quattro all-wheel drive system. Then there's the fact that even with some mild tuning, these things can become truly ballistic. And because everyone seems to forget about them, they depreciate in price like crazy. Here in Australia, a new TT RS will set you back over $150,000, but you can pick up a 2010 to 2013 example for as low as $45,000. Even in the US, you guys will be looking at around about $35,000, and in the UK, £25,000 should get you behind the wheel. Okay, look, they're far from perfect when it comes to things mechanically going wrong, but it's really hard not to fall in love with a sports car that has rallying pumping through its veins. So in fourth, we switch from rallying to Formula One. It's the Mercedes-Benz SLK55 AMG. The SLK55 we feel suits this list the best is the third generation R172, as while the second generation R171 was legitimately a Formula One pace car in 2004 and 2005, the third gen are more readily available on the global used car market, and they're just a tiny bit faster. The whole SLK55 recipe just screams performance. Wedge a 415 horsepower AMG-tuned 5.5-litre V8 into the smallest two-door drop-top rear-wheel drive Mercedes model, fit some enormous brakes and some performance-tuned suspension, and you have yourself the AMG model that everyone just seems to forget about. Why? Well, AMG models are supposed to look all tough and sinister, and a little Mercedes convertible is always going to struggle to fit that required aesthetic, even if it does sound as good as this. Pricing new here in Australia hovered around about the $160,000 mark, but these days you'll need anywhere between 50 to 90 grand to get behind the wheel. Stateside, 45 grand should get you into the driver's seat, while you'll need around about £25,000 in the UK. In third, it's another German, and I've got to say, this manufacturer offered up so many options for this list, but in the end, we decided to go with the BMW E82 135i and S, like IS. The car that we actually wanted for this spot was the F20 M135i hatch, as it is an incredible hot hatch that everyone seems to forget about. But thanks to BMW America never importing it to the States, it doesn't meet our international requirements to be included in this list. However, the E82 135i and S Coupe is still an awesome and generally forgotten performance car. Now, this is where it does get a little bit confusing, but look, please bear with us. There are technically 3 different E82 135i's, the twin-turbo or N54 engine version, the single-turbo N55 version, and a slightly more powerful N55 version called the 135iS or 135i Sport, depending on where you're located. Which one do we recommend? Well, while BMW fans argue amongst themselves about which is better between the N54 and the N55 engines, we'd go with the best condition, lowest kilometre, most cared for N55 engined 135 we could find, and keep a few $1,000s under your mattress for when things go wrong, which they probably will. Ignoring the known gremlins, these things out of the box are superb, but throw some quality aftermarket tuning products at them and they can become genuine giant killers. While most people obsess over the various M model BMWs, the E82 135 variants offer incredible under-the-radar performance. Budget for as little as $18,000 here in Australia, around about 10 grand in the US, and £8,000 in the UK. In second place, it's the Porsche that many believe is the one you buy when you can't actually afford a Porsche. But to those in the know, this thing is hugely underrated. It's the Boxster. All Boxsters are criminally underrated. Look, maybe it's the fact that they can be seen as the poor man's Porsche, maybe it's the convertible looks that aren't quite aggressive enough for some, but all Boxsters offer an excellent performance driving experience. Okay, look, most of them aren't going to pin you to the seat in a straight line, but find a few corners and these things just come alive. While you can pick up first generation 986s for well under 20 grand here in Australia, the sweet spot of the range now is a post 2005 987 Boxster S with a manual transmission. Here in Australia, pricing for these kick off from around about $35,000, and in the US around about 20 grand, and in the UK, your pricing kicks off from around about £13,000. Now, while the driving experience in a 987 Boxster S with a manual transmission is just awesome, and with a few intelligent mods, it can push the Boxster into serious driving nirvana territory, now that they're getting a little bit older, they aren't perfect when it comes to reliability. But look, as long as you do your homework and you have a few $1,000s set aside for any potential problems, you should be pretty sweet. Guys, I can't say this enough. These things are just incredible to drive. Leave all your preconceived ideas at the door, don't compare it to a 911, and just embrace the fact that you're driving a drop-top Porsche, and these things offer a phenomenal driving experience. Now, before we get to first place, can I please ask a favour? Can you hit those like, subscribe, and bell icon buttons? It helps us out so much. And after the video, go and follow us on all the socials. Now, taking out this list, we're throwing out any notions of practicality or luxury or really kind of any common sense at all in the pursuit of finding the ultimate performance driving experience. In first place, it was originally called the Lotus 7, although these days it's more commonly regarded as a Clubman. Forget Ferraris and Lamborghinis. If you want the ultimate in undiluted and hardcore driving dynamics, a Clubman will grab you by the soul and rearrange your morals and sense of reality, while probably scaring you half to death. Even the ownership experience outside of the car requires some serious commitment, as these cars are generally built in kit form. And what does that mean? Well, it's kind of like buying a car from IKEA. Chances are you'll be screwing or welding bits together, but that's all part of the charm. And look, if you're not a fan of an automotive flat pack, that's okay too, because more than 160 companies have manufactured various forms of Clubmans all around the world, offering everything from old school looking classics with almost agricultural power plants to purpose-built race weapons packing motorsport developed engines with sequential gearboxes and competition spec suspension and brakes. To give you a concept of just how insane these things can be, there are plenty of Clubmans out there that have a better power to weight ratio than that of a Bugatti Veyron. Remember, these things generally don't have doors, there are no creature comforts, they're generally about the size of a decent dining room table, and they make a Fiat 500 feel overweight. And to make them even more impressive, here in Australia, prices kick off from as little as $20,000. Okay, look, sure, at that price, it will most likely need some TLC, and it will probably be on the slower side of Clubmans out there, but even a slow Clubman will still bend your mind and have you laughing hysterically on every journey. Plus, I may know from experience that the passenger seat of these things is an awesome place to scare your friends. Just saying. Guys, thank you so much for watching, and hey, what did you think of the list? Let us know in those comments below. And can you hit those like, subscribe, and bell icons? As I said, it does help us out so much. And also go and follow us on all the socials. See you next time. So in fourth, we switch from here in Australia, pricing of and with a few intelligent better power to weight ratio, better power ratio, experience that the passenger, the favour, and remember, what's wrong with me, mate? What's wrong with me? Come on, Morris, come on. Can you hit those like, subscribe, and bell icon buttons? It does a massive it really helps us out. It really helps us out. Like me, I know having some kind of brain activity would really help us out.